So this SlideShare presentation is kind of relatively critical to the talk, but you can access it on your mobile device. Just pull out your phone, and SlideShare will let you see all the slides. Just go to this URL, bit.ly/Moz Lessons 2012. There you go. I've got it on my phone, so it takes a little while to load. Just give it a couple minutes and it'll get there. When I started SEOmoz, I'll throw this up here in case you can see it. When I started SEOmoz, I was challenged to do financing for it, just like Molly with ice cream. And so my game plan, I hadn't done any political donor work. I didn't have a rich boyfriend at the time. I don't actually now either. I'm still looking for that special man to fill. But what I did have were credit cards. And this was pre-2008, so if you remember, pre-2008, if you had a social security number and were a human being, you could get hundreds of thousands of dollars in credit card loans. And it was probably people like me that caused the downfall of the credit economy, but nevertheless, it helped get the business started. This is actually a chart, not of revenue. This is a chart of debt. So if you're on slide 2 on your mobile device, you can see that goes all the way up to $450,000 in personal debt. And that was at the height of personal debt that I had in 2006, mostly on credit cards. And what happens when you get to that level of debt is that angry-looking, kind of ugly, beefy guys come to your home and office on a regular basis and ask for you, and then give you summonses and try to threaten you with all sorts of legal action and other nasty things. I highly recommend against this funding strategy. Cannot recommend against it enough. And then something kind of weird happened. So this chart, you'll notice the axis is now changed from hundreds of thousands to millions and tens of millions of dollars. This is revenue. And so, I am blessed and lucky to have been able to be surrounded by great people and build a business that this year is going to do a little over $20 million in revenue, in software revenue. And there's 72 amazing people, 73 amazing people at the Mozplex just down the street. I think there's 4 or 5 here. Do you guys want to raise your hand? John and Andrew and Carrie, Jackie, fantastic people who. It's just amazing. Like, it's been an incredible, incredible ride. And along the way, as you might imagine, from a business that's been going for 10 years, but has only in the last 4 or 5 really done well, we sucked at a lot of shit for a long time before we got good at anything, right? So my strategy for success is fail and fail and fail and fail and fail and fail. But I do have some tips, and those are the 12 tips that I wanted to share here today. So the first one is to establish core values. And I don't mean establish core values like we have some soft, fluffy things that we sort of like. I mean establish core values like take the things that it is that you care about. So right, for Molly, clearly she has extremely strong moral and ethical and political values. Those are a key part of her personality. They're a part of Molly Moon's brand. And you can feel it when you go into the store. You can feel it in the fact that the cones are made in a certain way, that she gets supplies from certain places. And this same ethos is true in businesses that have core values. Don't just make them, write them down, and make them a part of your review and evaluation system. When we did this, I can tell you that it was like a lens shifting over the business, changing our outlook on everything, changing the people that we hired, upgrading the quality of people on the team, upgrading the quality of the work that we did, upgrading the quality of customers we attracted and acquired. There's a fantastic TED Talk from a gentleman named Simon Sinek. Has anyone in the room seen it? So I would strongly recommend this talk. It's called, Start with Why. Yes, thank you. So Simon Sinek, Start with Why. And what Simon talks about in this is that people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. if you don't have core values, there's no why you do it. And our core values are sort of one of the most important things in our organization. I like to think, I like to dream, you know, in my head that TAGFI, our core values, it's an acronym, will be around much, much longer than SEOmoz will be. That's kind of how I envision the world, how I hope things go. When things get hard, when decisions are very, very challenging, is when you have to stick to your core values. When things are easy to do, it's very easy to stick to core values. When they get really tough, like you need to let somebody go, you need to fire somebody, you need to make cuts, you need to decide a critical feature can't keep the app up anymore, you can no longer afford to pay for a data source, a vendor has gone out of business, whatever it is, right? Those tough, ugly, nasty decisions, there's someone on your board of directors who doesn't make sense for the organization anymore. That's when these things get really hard, and that's when you have to stick to them more than ever, and that's when it's most tempting not to. And if you take that temptation, it's not a slippery slope, it's just a cliff. You just fall off, and you probably will hit the ground and die. It's really tough. When you are hiring, you're going to see me talk about core values a bunch, but when you are hiring, follow this chart. If you're on your phone, you can see this little chart, right? It's performance of the individual on your team versus their culture fit, right? So sort of, do they believe the same things you believe? Do they share those core values? Are they innately that same type of person, right? And you can feel it, especially after years of meeting people. We can meet someone and be like, oh my gosh, they are so TAGFI. With barely knowing them, right? You can meet someone and be like, oh my gosh, super TAGFI person, or very TAGFI, but except for this. This is easy. The easy part is when performance is low and culture fit is low. Then you know that's not a hire, or you know you need to get rid of that person. And it's very easy too when performance is high and when performance is high, performance is low and culture fit is low, then it's easy. When it's low and low, it's hard, and when it's high and high, it's easy. The mistake that most people make is they bias the wrong way here and here. They bias the wrong way when performance is high and culture fit is low, and they bias the wrong way when performance fit is low but culture fit's high. Usually when performance is low, they'll say, well, they're a great cultural fit, but we got to let them go. And we've done that. We've done that in the past, and it's been really tough. Sometimes when you're a growing startup, you might have to make that decision, but a lot of times you can work with those people to get them to where they need to be. What you can almost never do, nearly impossible, in fact, I've never seen it work in the whole history of SEOmoz, where someone was not a core values fit, where they eventually became one. Just doesn't happen. Core values are innate to an adult human being. I think they're incredibly hard to change. I almost never see it. And core values you shouldn't have our core values, you should have your core values when you do your startup. So one of the memes that Silicon Valley's promoted that I despise the most is the idea that if you build it, they will come, right? Like, I get a little scared when I hear Molly say, well, we had a publicist, Seattle Times wrote about us once, and then like 2 lines around the block, right? We just had to build it and people would come. You would not believe how rarely that happens. That never happens. Like, it never happens to the degree that there have probably been 500 ice cream shops in the Seattle area in the last 20 years, and Molly Moon's is the only independent one you've heard of. Right? So the other 499 examples will make you believe the other way, but the truth is that you have to have both a great product and great marketing. And I worry that Silicon Valley has this idea like, oh, wait, what if we made an app where you took pictures of people and then you applied a lens that made it look like the 1970s? That'll be $1 billion, right? Oh, it totally is. Okay, I just need to make one of those. Let's go do that. It's dangerous mentality to get into this world of thinking that's going to be the case. So I would urge you to get both product and marketing right. And in fact, when it comes to marketing, the thing that I think is critical, is most important, particularly for a technology startup, this would apply differently for other types, but particularly for technology startup, is cost of customer acquisition. Meaning, how much does it cost you to get one more customer, and do you have a scalable way to put money into something, some sort of funnel, some sort of machine, money or effort, meaning money that you spend on people who put in effort to earn customers. If you can find a repeatable, scalable model for this, it works great. One of the reasons that SEOmoz is successful, looking back on it, is because we do something very weird. So lots of web apps, lots of web companies spend a ton of money on these things in blue, which you can't quite see. And those are things like PPC and affiliate marketing and banner ads and display ads and retargeting and Facebook ads, social ads, and all that kind of stuff, right? Advertising, right? A lot of people think of marketing as advertising. We spend a very small amount on this comparatively, 15% of our whole marketing budget, and, 15% of our acquisitions come through those channels. And in fact, those channels, we didn't spend a dime on any one of them, not one, until 2010. Meaning all the customers that we acquired until then, thousands of them, all came through inbound marketing channels, meaning organic search, SEO, which we like that. We like SEO, it's kind of fun. Through channels like Facebook and Twitter and Reddit and StumbleUpon and Pinterest, well, not Pinterest in 2010 because it didn't exist, but organic social kinds of channels, email marketing, a blog, an RSS feed. Those organic channels require effort and creativity, but they don't require dollars. And that's why they work so tremendously well for scaling startups. Number 6, this was probably one of the hardest things for me. I used to think that firing someone was the worst thing in the world that I could do. Literally, I thought, like heart palpitations, just incredible nervousness. It was like one of the biggest reasons I didn't even want to grow and scale the company, because firing people was just so horrifying to me, like the prospect of it. And over time, it's become one of those things where it's amazing. Like I look at all the people who've been let go from SEOmoz, and I think our churn rate is actually relatively low compared industry-wide, but there's probably about a dozen folks that we've let go over the years. And I know many of them personally still. And virtually everyone, in fact, everyone I can think of off the top of my head right now, is better off. They're happier in their job. The people who they used to work with are happier at SEOmoz. Many of them are making more money. Many of them are more successful in where they are. My God, all those fears that I had, why did I have that great fear about letting someone go who wasn't a match? If you don't have this ability to get over that fear, you're going to have a very, very tough time, because wrong people on the team will make great people leave. And that's much worse than losing someone that you know you needed to lose. Number 7, you're not the customer. I know you want to build something that solves your problem, and that's good. In fact, I don't recommend against that. I recommend solving a problem that you personally have because you'll be passionate about it, but make sure you don't think of yourself as the only customer. If you do, you will get into a dangerous world, particularly in technology, where you are building for a user that rarely exists. You're an entrepreneur. This means, by nature, that you are very rare. There are not many of you to sell to. Don't make yourself the customer model. I did that for a long time. It meant that there were tools that were so complex and advanced for SEO that nobody in this room could use them, maybe Andrew a little bit. But even then, he'd be like, why did you design it this way, Rand? You're an idiot. And sometimes maybe he still does. Number 8, I mentioned this previously, don't let the outliers be your yardstick by which you measure yourself, right? So if you're like, my company made like $10 million this year, but do you see Instagram was bought for $1 billion? I feel like a nobody. But shut the fuck up. You just made $10 million. Come on. I can't tell you how pervasive this viewpoint is in the high-tech technology space. It's like, I'm doing okay, but if it's not $1 billion, it's not cool according to the movies. And also be very careful of drawing comparisons and conclusions based on what these companies do or did. So a lot of people think, well, Facebook, they didn't have to do marketing. You are crazy if you think that. Facebook has a phenomenal growth team. In fact, they've been to the SEOmoz offices. We've met with them. We've worked with them on SEO stuff. Like, they are amazing. They are driven. They are the kind of people where we found SEO mistakes in Facebook's site, and Facebook's marketing team had fixed them the same night when they got back to their hotel room after drinks at the bar. Do you know what that takes on a code base the size of Facebook's with that many users? It was insane. I would also, number 9, bias towards humility. Humility, particularly in CEOs and leaders, but also in executive teams and in people that you hire. This is the most underrated, undervalued trait in the technology startup world. And I think the reason it is precisely because of number 8 that I just talked about, which is that you look at the outliers and you go, wow, have you met Mark? Like, that guy, he's swinging an ego the size of this city. Like, you know, he knows who he is. Larry and Sergey, big egos. Larry Ellison from Oracle, like, he has to be in the Iron Man movies just to feel good about himself. Like, big egos. And yet, I think this predicts the opposite of success for 99 out of 100 entrepreneurs. And when you see it, it means that people don't take meetings with you, and people don't want to share your stuff, and people don't want to talk about fundraising with you, and people don't want to help you. Humility will get you a long, long way. Number 10, well, I talked about this earlier. Price of success, fail after fail after fail. So this, I love using this example. So this is actually the traffic to my wife's blog. My wife started a travel blog back in 2009. And here's the first 2 years of her traffic. Do you see this flat blue line that doesn't go up? No traffic, none, zero, zilch, nada. Literally like 100 people a day visiting her site, maybe. Oh, big fan, wow. That's right. Fantastic. And that is where most people usually give up. About a year and a half in, and they go, this isn't working. And what works is not giving up. Not giving up. Look, now it's like 3,500 visits a day and growing way faster. Once you get some of that traction, everything else becomes that downhill slope. It's like pushing a boulder up a hill. Once you get to the top, the downhill gets a lot easier. Number 11, if you are looking for a good way to figure out whether startup life is good for you, whether you can make a good startup, whether you're going to do a great job, join a startup. It could not be simpler, and yet there's so many people who are like, oh, I should leave my big company job and I should do a startup. If you're not sure, go to one, right? You've been saving this money, right? You've been putting together, like, you're building your connections. And go to a startup, right? Like, I don't know if this is true for everyone at Moz, but I can certainly say so. We had a great engineer, Ben Hendrickson, who came to SEO. He was at Microsoft for a number of years, recruited by some other big companies, came to SEOmoz, worked there for 3.5 years, left, went to Google for like 6 months, 9 months, left, sold some of his shares back to the company, and started his own company. I think he's going to do amazing because of it, but I would be willing to bet that he will do 10 times better because he had the startup experience than if he had simply left Microsoft and started the company right then. You just get to see so much. There's so much I don't know, you don't know, we all don't know about this process. And the last one, my last tip for you, number 12, is don't go this alone. So I mentioned the fact that I use credit cards. You can't see these photos, but that's me and my wife. And I mentioned the fact that I use credit cards to fund a lot of SEOmoz's growth. At the time, I took home a paycheck semi-regularly. That paycheck was $800 a month, which is, you know, not enough to pay rent or really buy food every day or, you know, have a car or anything like that. In fact, I still don't own a car. I don't think I could buy one if I wanted to because I have no credit. Or a house or anything like that. But Geraldine paid all my bills. Literally. Paid all my bills for 4 years. Paid all my bills. Paid our rent, bought most of the groceries, and I would like occasionally take us out to dinner. Because I was like, oh, honey, let me take you out to dinner with this paycheck, which really I should be giving you all of because you paid our rent. And if you can find those people, the person in your life, the people in your life who can support you through that, having a partner is just phenomenal. I would also advise this. The other photo here that you can't see is of Sarah Bird, who's our COO, and she's been with Moz for the last 5 years. She just joined our board of directors, and we affectionately call each other our work husband and wife. And for me, she's kind of like all the things that I am bad at as far as Moz goes and building a startup goes, she is great at, right? So like I'm I'm only moderately technical, but I'm pretty good at, like, decent at marketing and decent at creative and decent at customer acquisition, decent at product, like those kinds of things. But Sarah is phenomenal at operations and tax and legal and structure and hiring and culture fit and just all these other things that without which the company would have died long ago. And so if you can find that partnership to complement your skills, both inside your startup and the person who will support you personally in your life, I think you're going to be set. Otherwise, I'd be a little worried. All right, so you can download the slide deck if you like, Moz Lessons 2012. And thank you very much for having me, Mario. This is great.